Welcome back, beautiful tri state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Body Align, we're joined by our regular contributor and podcaster, Dan Gilman, joined by the very talented Guy Stanley Philoche. He's a Haitian-born artist and painter. He immigrated to Connecticut when he was just 3 and turned to art as his calling. He struck out on his own path, first attending an arts college and then Yale. He's now based right here in New York City and has attracted international attention and garnered a strong following. He's collected by everyone from George Clooney, Thurman and Tommy Hilfiger to Deutsche Bank, Merrill Lynch, and Barclay Investments. That's just to name a few. They join me today to chat about art, inspiration, and the powerful messages he communicates through his work and love of New York City. Welcoming now to the show are my awesome friends. Welcome, superstars.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Wow, intro. Wow.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
having me, guys. Yeah.
So I would like to find out, my dear, how you ended up being collected by everyone from George Clooney, Thurman, and Tommy Hilfiger, and then I'll go directly into Q&A. But how do you cross paths with these people?
God, it was a long journey. I have good dealers, and at the same time, it's New York. Being at the right place at the right time. And just happened to see the work and fell in love with the work.
But it wouldn't have happened if you didn't live right here in New York City.
Well, yeah. Let's be honest. New York is the capital of the art world, so everything happens here in New York for the art world. Yeah. So yeah, for sure.
Okay. Now, as the middle child of 3 boys, coming from a family of sports enthusiasts, your passion clearly laid elsewhere. And while still remaining close to your Haitian roots, you were the only son to go against your culture's tradition of the entire family living together by going out on your own path. Can you share a little bit about your background and what led you to pursue a career in art?
Yeah, well, to answer that question, you need to understand how I grew up, right? I came over when I was a kid. I didn't speak the language. I was this weird, awkward kid in a new country. And when you have Caribbean parents, especially Haitian parents, I was supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, some type of government job with a pension. I'm not supposed to be talking to you right now. I'm supposed to be in front of a computer right now, punching numbers. But no, I chose to pursue art because it was just one of those things that art chose me, you know? So being this weird, awkward kid, I come to the US. I'm weird, I'm awkward, I don't speak the language. And I just found my place in the world through art, And when I told my parents that I wanted to go art school, my mom said, no, I scrub enough twat so you don't have to. You are way too smart. We're not paying for that. It's either go to university or go to art school. And I looked at them. I gave them a big hug, a big kiss after I graduated high school, and I just took off. Left home. I was 17 years old and never looked back.
Fascinating. I know Dan has some questions for you. He's very eager to jump in here.
Well, I was just on that note. Who were your biggest influences growing up, and how did they shape your approach to art?
My biggest influences growing up, really, believe it or not, I'm gonna have to say my parents. We didn't grow up with art. We didn't have art hanging on the walls. And the way I'm talking about, the way they influenced me a little bit is for them not paying me for go to art school. So when they said, listen, we're not paying for you to go to art school, that put in roots for me and the determination for me to stay focused and to say, you know what? I understand why you chose not to do this. So therefore, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. So I just moved, I was just so focused, so dedicated, and kept my eye on the prize.
I can see that being a great motivator to prove your parents wrong. We've all
Yeah.
been there. But influences and inspiration are key points for artists like yourself. In
Mhm.
fact, in the 2017 US Survey of Public Participation in the Arts, 61% of participants who created visual artworks reported doing so because they felt quote unquote creative or creatively inspired. And as you know better than anyone else, artists can find inspiration to create in all aspects of life, whether that's nature, personal experiences, or even learning new techniques in that chosen medium. How do you choose the themes for your artworks, and what messages do you aim to convey through them?
So that's a really good question. As as an artist, I work in series. And every few years I start a new series. 2 years ago I had a series called New York, I Still Love You, and that was based on the pandemic. After things started to open up in the city, everyone was fleeing the city. Everyone kept saying New York is dead, New York is dead. So I started a series where I was like, no, New York is not dead. Let me show you guys why, and let me remind you guys why New York isn't dead. So I did a group of like everyday New York subjects that remind people about New York City. Now I'm doing a new series called Give Us Our Flowers. That series is really dear to my heart because last year I lost a really dear friend of mine who just wasn't a friend. He was also one of my collectors and also my lawyer who negotiated all my contracts and everything like that. And this particular situation really, really hit home and really hit me hard because, like I said, he wasn't just a dear friend, but
A mentor.
yeah, it's just talking about it's still just a little shocking to because 2 days before he passed away, he was in my studio, we're signing contracts and everything, and then 3 days later I find out that he passed away. And I dealt with grief before, but this really hit hard. So I go to his funeral and I see tons of people there, and everyone kept saying the same thing. I wish I had told him how great of a lawyer he was, how he was a great colleague, he was a good friend, he was a great dad, but no one got that chance to tell them that. So, and again, traditional therapy just wasn't working for me at the time. So I was just in my studio and I just kept drawing his portrait over and over. And then one day I just put little flowers. And when I looked at it, I was like, wow, I think I have something here. And so I started this whole new series called Give Us Our Flowers. And Give Us Our Flowers is about honoring us while we're still alive. Too often we only honor people when they're gone, but I wanted to honor us while we're still alive.
That's beautiful. You just touched
Just
me.
Oh, well, thank you. The portraits are beautiful. They're portraits of everyday people. And also too, and I chose painting Black and brown people because too often the media only looked at us as either criminals or entertainers. We're more than that. We're doctors, we're lawyers, we're educators. And so that's why I chose to paint everyday people that look like me, because going to museums, you don't see us hanging on these walls.
no.
Now, listen, the life of an artist is certainly not always an easy one. You just painted that reality for yourself in terms of transitioning from a family that did not believe in your vision to finding family and mentorship in a friend that you recently lost. And artists and creatives are so frequently misunderstood by the public and those around them and their very own family. In fact, I heard that when you first told your parents you got into an art school, separate of the fact that you told them you wanted to pursue this, they told you that they loved you, but you're just too smart to waste your time on brain to waste your brain on painting. In fact, it's your painting that has earned you the income to this date that it has, right? So how wrong were they? But you stayed true to yourself and continued on full steam ahead and knew that this is what you wanted to do. And throughout your career, if you could look back, what has been the most challenging aspect of discovering your potential and how have you addressed it?
Well, first of all, they choosing not to support me financially in the art world and not helping me pay for school was the best thing that ever happened. To this day, my dad apologized. He said, out of all my boys, I rode you the hardest. But I just want to say sorry. It's like, no, don't apologize, because that was the best decision you ever made, because it just made me so focused and everything like that. And also too, let's be honest, I wouldn't recommend being an artist to my worst enemies. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's hard work, it's sacrifice. But at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because it's a lot of sacrifice. And I chose to make these types of sacrifices, and I just kept staying focused, kept my eye on the prize. And 20 years later, yeah, I have this amazing career and everything like that. But I chose to make these sacrifices. I chose to invest in myself. That's the most important thing too. But also too, I'm a dreamer. I dream big, and I just never stopped dreaming. I think living in New York City is one of those places where dreams do come true. And what I would love to tell like up and coming artists, if a kid from Haiti who came here with nothing, didn't speak the language, moved to New York City, could do it, anyone can do it. You just got to dream big. And I think too often too many people stop dreaming big.
You've been active in supporting other artists and in the community, and especially during challenging times.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about your initiative to buy art from struggling artists during the pandemic?
So I have a philosophy that I've always lived by. I love art, and every time I sell a painting, I buy a painting. Some people buy lottery tickets, some people buy cars, some people buy watches. I buy art. So when the pandemic happened, I just got off of a big sold out show in New York City, and I was super excited, and I was going to do something nice for myself, but I was going to buy this really nice watch. But I noticed that more and more of my friends were calling me. People were getting nervous. And listen, I'm a New Yorker by heart. I've been here for September 11th. I've been here for the blackout. I've been here for the hurricanes. I've been here for like every natural disaster we had. But the pandemic was something different because it affected so many people, but also it was affecting my colleagues and my friends. So when these phone calls were getting when I was getting these phone calls from my friends talking about they lost their jobs, and they were painting, and shows were getting canceled, the art fairs were getting canceled. That's when I realized now's not a time to go and buy some fancy watch. Let me go and help out my friends. So I basically went on Instagram and say, hey, my name is Guy Stanley Philoche. I'm an artist in New York City. New York's been really good to me, and I'm looking to buy as much artwork as possible. The funny thing about all that, I didn't expect it to go viral whatsoever, and my budget was only like $20,000, right? So fast forward $250,000 later, over 400 pieces of art. I collect this. I have this massive collection called the Philoche collection, and to this day, I still keep buying art. I have behind me, you can see my walls. I live in a museum. I have two storage units filled with art, and every 6 or 7 months, I just constantly rotate my collection.
That's fascinating. Look at you. I'm so inspired by your story. You are truly so passionate about what you do that everything around you involves art from
Yes.
every aspect of your existence, and that's what makes you such an expert and so good at your craft. But now we're almost out of time. We just have about a minute left. But my final question for you is, what advice would you give to young artists? Somebody's just starting out. I know that you said you wouldn't wish this career on your worst enemy, but for those looking to make a positive impact through their art, what advice do you have?
Just be patient. Be patient. Your time will come. One thing people need to understand as artists, we are always ahead of the curve. We are, as a creative, we're always 3 or 4 steps ahead of people, and it takes a while for people to catch up with us, So as a young artist, I would just say, be patient, and your time will come. It just takes a while for people to catch up to us.
That's great advice. Dan, do you have any closing questions?
I'm just so excited and so enthralled that you came here today. So thank you so much for being
Dan
here.
is literally speechless. He just
I
sat
am.
sat this one out and just listened on the sidelines because he was loving what you were
Well,
saying.
you answered a couple of my questions earlier. So
Well,
that was
listen,
it.
if you guys are ever in
Mm.
LA or in New York, please stop by and check out some of my shows that have up and coming and everything like that as well too. So,
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be your cheerleaders. Thank you so much for coming on. I truly
oh,
appreciate
no,
your time.
thank you for having me, and yeah, and just remember, never stop dreaming big.
Dream big, baby. Dream big. All the way up. That was our Discover Your Potential segment, sponsored by Bodyalign. Do check out the very talented Guy Stanley Philoche on Instagram. You can head directly on the gram and go directly to his handle at Guy Stanley Philoche and stay up to date with all of his latest works and galleries. And of course, see more of Dan by heading directly to Discover Your Potential show Dan.com or Dan_Gilman on the gram. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is sponsored by Body Align. Are you ready for a long winter's nap? Over 183 million adults have trouble sleeping at least once a week. That's why Body Align designed a wearable patch that helps you fall asleep faster, wake up feeling refreshed, and comes with a money-back guarantee. Try the Sweet Dreams patch today and get a buy one, get one free pack with the promo code DYP. Visit bodyalign.com and enter DYP at checkout because discovering your potential starts with a great night's sleep. That's bodyalign.com.